Hi guys, welcome back to From Surviving to Thriving. Today I'm just going to put up a quick tarp shelter. I'm not actually using a tarp, I'm using greenhouse plastic. It can be found at a lot of places. I know you can buy big, huge rolls that cover, or that are for like industrial greenhouses and stuff, but you can also buy the smaller ones at, I'm sure a lot of stores have them. But I'm basically just going to string that up. I'm not going to do my normal elaborate pine needle and stick frame shelter. I'm just going to basically string the greenhouse plastic up like you would a space blanket or a tarp. And then I'll try and start a fire in the rain, basically basically show you on the process for the fire starting and the stringing of the tarp throughout the process. So stick with me. So here's my tarp. It's not very thin, and it's not very nice looking, but it definitely is functional. It is completely waterproof, unlike some store-bought actual tarps. This is a smaller tarp that is also waterproof, that can basically serve as a blanket if it's raining, which it is right now, but it's not raining too hard. But it can serve as a blanket for me. You can see that there. I can basically cover myself with this if my shelter is not up to par, or if I just didn't have time to build one. But so here's my other tarp. It's not, neatly cut and stuff, but it definitely still works. As you can see, it's quite big. So I'm just between some trees. Perfect. Okay. So for today, I'm just going to use my normal nylon white string that you can find at a lot of places, like home improvement and hardware stores. It's not quite the same as Bankline. It's not tarred. It's just it's quite cheap though, so it's a good alternative to Bankline or even paracord. It's also quite strong. I've used this in many of my other videos for traps and snares, so it's definitely a multi-purpose item. Basically untie a nice amount, since you are tying around a thickish tree. I'm going to try and get this up quick because it is starting to rain harder. Also, it was snowing this morning, so it's still quite cold today. So the combination between the wet and then the cold, and if it was windy, it's not too windy, but that would obviously be a very, very deadly combination, because that would be the three good symptoms for hypothermia. So beware of the cold and the wet. Basically, I'll just it doesn't have the reinforced eye holes or eye loops, but I'll just fold this corner over, and I'll wrap this around, and you have one corner of your tarp tied, and actually it's quite sturdy. You do want to be at least a little bit careful on high winds, because this obviously is not like the space blankets that have the reinforced eye loops, or I forget exactly what they're called. But fortunately, that's one bad quality about this nylon string. It does fray right here. The tarred Bankline does not do that. So definitely a tarred Bankline is a better option, but I do not have that with me, so you have to use what you got. Now you want to just tie it up with this. Now you want to do the same knot type thing on that side. And you want to tie it up the same way. So it is unfortunately too wide, but it's not like that affects it too much. So now once you have this side up, you want to carve out some tent stakes. And basically stake the other two corners down. Sorry if the camera gets fogged up. I'll try and wipe it off the best I can, but it is raining outside, so it's going to be challenging. But now I'll carve some tent stakes with my Mora knife, and I'll tie the back two corners down, and then we'll be set to go. Here's my tent stake. Now you just want to carve a notch in the back. There's your notch. Just carve it right in there, and then you tie your back string to that. So right about here, make sure it's tight. It's really soft ground, so I can just push it right in. You can see that. There's one corner. Take you around to the other side. And we'll do the other corner. So I just wanted to do a quick thing on the tent stakes. You can cut this big piece of wood with a Mora knife, or just with a knife in general. Just kind of have to wrap around the whole thing, just to deep slices in the whole thing. And from there you can just snap it off, and then just cut it to be flat. This is quite soft wood, but it still works the same for hardwood because the knife is so sharp. You go as flat. If you need to pound it, I really don't, because it's such soft ground. You just sharpen it into the other side. Make sure it's nice and sharp. It's pretty good. You just make the notch. Okay, so there's your tent stake, and now we'll put in the other side. Okay, so we have our finished thing. I might adjust that back 10 stake some, the one back here, but there's the finished thing. Now I'm going to try and set a fire. That might be even more challenging. Actually, I'm sure it will be even more challenging than the tent installment. One thing I like doing with my videos, as I've said before, is doing something that I thought of. A lot of other people have done, putting up a tarp on their on a video on YouTube, but I have thought of a overhang right here where it would actually keep in the heat, because the heat from the fire that's right here would kind of reflect off here and then go just up into space. But with this overhang, it would block the rain more. Also, it would keep in the heat from the fire more. So I'm just going to get 2 long poles and prop them up right here, so you have a nice overhang on your shelter. Okay, well, we're here in our shelter. It's completely waterproof. It's keeping my gear warm, or not warm, but dry. But warmth is the next step. I do have a lot of gear in here. I have my Wetterlings axe. I have my journal, which I'll keep in here. I have my military survival knife, sorry. It's quite a decent knife. It stays nice and sharp. I don't use it all that often, but redundancy is a good quality to have in a survival pack. I have my mess kit. It's a very cheap mess kit. I used this earlier too. But darn. Okay, I have some hot chocolate mixes, and I have 4 cups of flour, and I have baking soda, and I have salt. And that, I'm not sure if you can see that, but that fits all right in here, including these 2 cups of 2 batches of hot cocoa. But there's salt, baking soda, and flour in there. That's 4 cups of flour, and that can make a lot of things, from hardtack to like biscuits for on the trail. I also have, just close this up first. Here you go. I have this is about 2 cups of cornmeal, which can also make a lot more variety of things. But there you go. And I store all that in my cup. It's just a normal mess kit cup. Make sure you get out all the air first. And I have my steel water bottle, which used to be a UPenn water bottle, but it is steel and it works well. I have used it before to boil water. So basically, here's my my kit with a few small things on the side pockets. That's the majority that fills up. Actually, no, it doesn't quite fill up the bucket part. I still have half of the actual big bucket part of this pack. This pack is actually a decent pack, surprisingly enough, because we got it at a military surplus store for $40. So you wouldn't think that it's that good of a pack, but it actually is. So I was surprised. And I have a pencil in here for my journal. and I have some old baking for bait for traps, and I have a nice compass. This is actually a pretty quality compass. It does point north. It has a level so that you can tell where, or so that you can make sure your compass is level. But it's saying that way is north, which is right, because obviously I know beforehand, obviously. But here's my other pocket, which has my fire starting kit mostly, but my fire starting kit really consists of a Strikeforce fire starter and lint. But I have a third knife because my other one's right here. Again, redundancy is definitely the key. The last thing in my pack is this fishing box right here, and you have a small piece of wax. My Strikeforce fire starting kit, which usually on the top here it has wet fire, but I put lint in it because I already used the wet fire, and I do not have replacements. I'm going to have to get more replacements of those. I have a Swiss Army knife. A lot of times people don't consider these for survival kits, but they're actually amazingly useful. You obviously have a bunch of different things to use it with. They're definitely proved time and time again in the field, so they're handy things. This is a whistle. It is a very, very loud whistle, and here's just more extra lint. And now we'll start the fire with my Strikeforce fire starter, which I sell on my website. So there it is. That is definitely hot enough, so you can start the fire. So let's try that now. It might be challenging because of the wet conditions. It's very wet. It's been raining all day, and earlier it snowed. My hands are getting quite cold, so it's kind of important that I start one, but I'll try to start one.